So, funny enough, I was thinking of you recently, as I so often am, Nate, but I was in Chicago. I was doing a panel.
Okay.
It was a panel about women and art and the auction world. And
Oh,
interestingly
cool.
enough, one of the people on the panel is the current CEO of Leslie Hindman's firm, Alyssa Quinlan.
Yeah.
And yes, and so of course it immediately cast my mind back to you at the young age of, if I recall, 20 years old, right? Going in.
20 years old as an intern, 23
Yes.
as a full-time employee, but yes.
Right, exactly. So you interned for Leslie Hyman, and then and had an important experience in your career, and then came back to work there full time. Take me back there a little bit, because I'm leading towards an auction discussion with you, Nate.
I
Okay.
love it. I love this, Dennis. It was such a great time. We call it like the Gucci loafer, no dental insurance era, where we all, just were 20 in our early 20s and we thought we were really fancy and we had little navy jackets with gold buttons and we an attitude. We had lots of attitude. But working at the auction house, interning at the auction house first when I
Right.
was at Lake Forest College, it was just so interesting for me because I was a terrible assistant, number one. So everything I was meant to do, hired to do, responsible for, I didn't do well. But everything I wasn't supposed to be doing, I did a great job at. For instance, I couldn't walk onto the sales floor without rearranging the entire thing before a
Uh,
sale. And so, though most of the staff begged Leslie to fire me, ceremoniously or unceremoniously, they left that up to her. She brought me into her tiny office with a paper thin door and she lit a Salem menthol and I sat on her radiator because I thought we were friends. I thought we were friends to such a degree that one day I told her we should leave her office and go to Neiman Marcus and buy shoes because she was too young to wear those little Ferragamo flats with the buckles on them.
you
Now,
you
I
thought you
was
were helping her
right.
out?
I was right, and we did leave the office, and I did pick out different shoes for her that I felt were
Okay.
much hotter, in all fairness. But instead of firing me, she put me in charge of a series of monthly auctions that were
Mm,
the marketplace sales. So it was basically the dreck that every decorator had sold all of these rich people for years, and I
right.
had to sell it. And so what it informed me, and when I opened my design firm a year later after I left the auction house, was that I didn't want to be the king of reproductions. I didn't want to rely on furniture showrooms primarily for sourcing. I
Mm,
wanted to be at auctions. I wanted to use vintage. I wanted to use antiques and brown furniture and all of the things that I knew someday would still retain a value. And that's still been a foundation of my principles in terms of how I run my design firm today, 30 years later. That still matters to me. And you'll hear me if you ever like hide out in my office when I'm presenting to a client, you will hear me say, this is the new version of this.
mm.
And this is the real version of this. And I want you to note that with our commission, it's still less expensive. And the best news is that 30 years from now, it'll at least be worth that if it's not worth 20 times that. If we're in, French mid-century or Italian 1930s or something signed, which we're playing with often. So the auction house, the auction world was the foundation for me of how to shop. And I still love it. I'm up all night, every night on Live Auctioneers. Even with the tariffs, even with the
I
nightmare
was
that is
wondering.
shipping,
I was wondering if all this is making it challenging.
I do the math in my head. I cheated at every math class my entire education, but that math somehow, a euro to dollar conversion plus potential tariffs plus my guess on what the shipping is going to cost, which is always wrong. That math I understand.
Staying with the auction, can we call it a habit?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean,
Well, Jeremiah would call it an addiction, so
well,
you're welcome to call it whatever you like.
he did refer to it as an addiction actually when I
Yeah,
spoke to
no,
him
I know, and
about.
he's also I'm going to refer to him as a bad person, but
Well,
he's not wrong.
he did
He's a
say
terrible human being, that Jeremiah Brent.
he said an intervention was necessary actually, and
Yeah.
I
Wow,
don't
you guys really
know.
dug into it,
Well,
Dennis.
I
This is
mean,
great to know. What else did he? What
well,
else did we get into?
now
My
now
eating habits?
now others have suggested that there is a show to be had here about all of this, and
100%.
perhaps there will be in the future, but I wonder how you really think about the auction world, because I was just having a conversation with this incredible antiques and reproduction dealer, Will Fisher from Jam. And
Yep.
right, and so Jam,
Jim is the ultimate
oh,
reproduction dealer.
I mean,
His work is incredible.
and he's extraordinary, and like you, got the auction bug at such a young age, tried to go work at Christie's when he was 10 years old, and and actually met with the CEO and the board, and later, like you, sort of got an entree when he was a little bit older, and they said, all right, come. So he feels so strongly that he doesn't want to buy anything online. He has to see it. He has to go and inspect.
Oh, I could care less.
Well, exactly. So tell me the other side of that. Tell me your perspective.
Well, but Dennis, I've made huge mistakes buying at auctions online. I mean, I've really, from diamond earrings that came and they were like the color of someone's bad teeth to, I've made a mess. I mean, but that hasn't kept me from the thrill of the hunt. And I think really that's what it boils down to. I have always loved and was raised to love multi-dealer antiques malls where you have to see something in a case with
Right.
3,000 things in it and then walk all the way to the front and ask for somebody to come open it so you can see if you think if it is what you think it is. And I have, my mother trained me like a little sort of pony to go retrieve the key or retrieve the person as a child. And so my life has been spent in the secondary market largely because I love auctions because they really are the truest value. It's what anyone is willing to pay at that moment in time in that location. And so you can't be more fair than that. And I like fair and I like a deal and I love to have beautiful things. I love quality. I'm obsessed with quality. What if I know that, Codognato in Venice is made a wine opener, then I don't want to see any other wine openers ever. But I'm not going to go to Codognato and commission a wine opener. I'm going to put it in a search engine, and if one comes up, I'm going to get it. So it's really more, wow, I really sound like I need, do you think there's a 12-step program
I mean,
for this?
again, others have suggested that you have
What
a little
about
bit
a
of a problem
prescription?
here, but
Maybe I should just be on something. Do you think a
Maybe.
GLP would be helpful?
Does Ozempic help with this? I'm not sure.
Does it? Is that the side effect that you just get to
don't-
keep all your money? You get to be skinny and keep all your money? That would be great.
And I wonder, I mean, are you thinking about future projects? When you're making acquisitions, are you always thinking, oh, I can use this here? Or
My greatest eureka moment was when I reached out to First Dibs and I said, we buy so much from you. How come I can't sell with you?
right.
And they said, you can. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, of course you can. We'll set you up with an account. So I do run this like side hustle on Cherish, on First Dibs, nothing makes me happier than bringing like boats of things to the Real. I lie when some of Jeremiah's things make it into my consignment. I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember that suit being in there at all. It's very strange. Too late, spent the money on a pepper grinder. So I am a dealer as well. I'm
Yeah.
not a very good dealer because I just buy what I love. And I don't have brick and mortar. But in other exciting news, after I did the Cherish pop-up at Bergdorf Goodman,
Yeah.
and I put a bunch of my inventory of like signed old Hermes things and Cartier things for home, that I called Bergdorf and I said, can I do this like permanently? And they said, yeah. So I'm going to launch with them at holiday time, all these like small luxury branded giftable things.
Really?
Yeah, which gives me a lot of credibility in the middle of the night when I'm buying stuff.
Oh, this is important now because I'm working for
Yes,
Bergdorf's.
exactly. I am a Bergdorf's buyer, if you will.
A dream come true for you,
Hmm.
no doubt. I'm curious though, and you mentioned brown furniture earlier, and I'm always trying to get the temperature of where we are with brown furniture or what the auction world is really telling us about what people are paying more for or wanting more of these days. What's your
Yeah.
sense?
I think that French 40s and Italian 40s and 50s has sort of plateaued
Hmm.
in value. There aren't really deals to be had, especially by signed furniture and decoration. Like you can't buy, or 70s even, you can't buy a Gabriele Crespi pair of lamps. They're not at any of the regional small auction houses anymore.
Hmm.
People know they get sent to Phillips or Piazza or Christie's, Sotheby's, etc. I think everything else is sort of fair game. I think Swedish furniture has become a lot more expensive, painted Swedish furniture. There's shops like Get the Gusto in West Palm Beach that
Hmm.
I think does an amazing job. But like you look at that and you kind of want it in your home. And so I've found that a lot of that Gustavian stuff is not overpriced because it was just not a good deal anymore. It
Hmm.
just costs what it should cost, I think. Whereas obviously some French designers are just inaccessible practically at this point. I do think that brown furniture is really good looking.
Hmm.
Like I love a George III chest of drawers. I love a George III or Victorian vase or silver hallmarked anything like Paul Storer and all of that. I mean, that's all really exciting. I still think there's deals to be had
Hmm.
for sure, especially at the smaller auction houses. Because if you think about it, especially here in the US, the fanciest interiors were English or French furniture,
Right.
19th or 18th century, and it didn't matter where you were. If you lived in Cleveland, Ohio, and you were loaded and you had great taste, then you had English mahogany case furniture. And so it's just there's a lot out there. There's no scarcity.
Hmm.
But obviously with the best pieces, there's scarcity. The one thing that I don't understand, and Barbara Salick and I had this conversation not long ago, and years ago I had this conversation with Al Sack as well.
Oh,
Like I don't get American furniture. It's just not for me. I'm not drawn to it at all.
interesting. So when you say American furniture, what are you referring to?
Philadelphia, Highboy,
Okay.
1780, 19th century, up to 19, like all that stuff, that American version of English brown furniture,
Right.
which is so beautiful. The quality is so
Don't get me
beautiful.
wrong,
Like
it's lovely,
no,
but
no, no, exactly. But it is so not for me. Like I think in 30 years, outside of taking away primitive American furniture, because I love like a roadside Michigan antiques mall, that I'm all over.
right.
But if you take out primitive American furniture and talk about fine American antique furniture, I have zero aesthetic appreciation. I don't think I've ever spec'd one piece in 30 years of doing design work.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I certainly would never reach for like a collection that's been remade based on a historic home
Right.
of brown furniture. Like that might be the least interesting thing to me. That feels like the Franklin Mint.
Yes. Yes. Where is my Civil War chess set? I want
Exactly.
to.
Where are my fake Fabergé eggs? Because I feel naked at the moment without them.
Yes. I missed that. You mentioned that your mother had trained you to go and fetch the person with the key, and
Yep.
I had sort of forgotten how much of a career in the design world and in the design TV world your mom had
Yeah.
in the very early days, and in this wave of HGTV nostalgia that we're experiencing
Yes.
now.
She's a meme now.
Yes, up
Oh,
comes
yeah.
your mom.
Up comes my mother, and it was like it's so wild for me to see. And it's so funny because my siblings and I, let me bring you back. Okay,
Please, please.
we're in suburban Minneapolis. There's nothing going on. And my mother had a wonderful business decorating friends' homes and clients' homes and a few light commercial projects.
Right.
And she had accounts with all of the fabric showrooms and all of that. But she liked bright multicolor French fabrics and, all this stuff. And then HGTV comes around and they ask her to host these shows or to be a guest designer on Joan Steffen's show, Decorating Sense.
Mm.
And my mom, all of a sudden, who grew up in Philadelphia, was like the Miss Hess's department store and a 17 magazine model, is on TV. And like for our town, she's famous.
This was a big deal. Sure.
Oh my
I can
God.
imagine.
This was like, I will have that front table at Perkins. Thank you very much. She's a radiologist's wife with her own career, went back to design school when she divorced my dad, remarried in 45 seconds, so she never really had to bank on her own income, in all fairness. But she worked.
Good for her.
And she worked. No kidding.
Right?
I wish it would happen to me.
I mean, yeah.
But she went on these TV shows, and at the time it was really about how much you could do for as little money as possible, and it was revolutionary. So it's funny for us, my brother and my sister and me. It's so funny for us to watch those tapes as they resurface on TikTok and on Instagram. I die. It's just like great. And everyone's so mean, by the way. And I'm like, you know what? What was your mom doing?
Oh, because everyone's dissing it and making fun?
Of course. They loved it. Well, I'm dissing it too. I mean, my mom put plates on a windowsill and said it looked like stained glass. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous, but that was design television at the time.
Exactly.
That was what it was. And you know what?
Yes.
Jeremiah, as a young gay guy in Modesto, California, used to watch my mother on that show and get ideas.
And it planted the seed for him. And
right.
And I hear he's doing
Look
terribly
at his
well.
Terrible career. Yeah, terrible. Look at his ridiculous career. So you know what?
Yes.
He has her to thank. The only person who shouldn't credit my mother exclusively with full inspiration is Alexa Hampton. She has a pass. Everyone else is born from my mother's design prowess. I don't think Mark and Dwayne had her watching that. But
no, because Alexa was being dragged to the Kip Space Show House in the third grade.
Right.
So she did. Right. Yeah, she had a different.
Probably, auctions at Drew O.
Right.
So I don't care about Alexa.
Right. But it's so funny. And I mean, thinking about you, so we talked about you working at the auction house, and then again at a very young age starting your own firm. And was your mom coaching, guiding, giving?
No.
Conversely,
my mother and stepfather used to fight every month when she would try and balance her books. So I wanted nothing to do. Oh yeah, it was awful. I wanted nothing to do with that. I mean, my mother would sell a sofa to a client and go to Ultimo in Chicago and buy an Armani jacket. Like it was, this was not a master class in business affairs. So, but I don't demean her at all, because she, in a world where many of her girlfriends were beading things or making ceramics or whatever, my mother was actually out, at meetings and at the International Market Square in Minneapolis, and
there you go,
lugging wallpaper books and fabric memos and all that stuff. So
right. Would she have been going to High Point, as I am about to tomorrow? No, that wasn't.
No, I'm sorry, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Hey, thank you.
You're going to sleep
support.
And eat so well. It really is the height of luxury, isn't it?
Thank you. Thank you for your kind support. I'll be
You'll
thinking
do
of
great.
You'll
be great. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So if her business acumen wasn't informing you in your youth when you were starting your own firm, what was?
I was working at the auction house. I was 23 years old, and I knew that I wanted to work for myself. I knew that I didn't want to answer to people about where I needed to be and when they wanted me to be there. I never made the 8 a.m. Monday morning meeting. I always walked in the door at 8:05, 8:07, 8:09. And the rule at the auction house was if you were late for the Monday 8 a.m. meeting, you had to walk in front of everybody and give Leslie Hindman $5. And that $5 was like my lunch for the day. So that didn't work for me. I really knew I wanted to be my own boss. And I knew that I loved stuff, and I knew that I loved environments, and I knew that I had a real sensitivity to how rooms were assembled, and I thought I could do a decent job. But to be honest with you, Dennis, I was making $780 every 2 weeks. And my real thought was, how hard can that be? To make $780 in 2 weeks.
Right.
Like if you have one client, can't you make the same money?
Yeah.
So, and I wouldn't have to give anybody my $5 every Monday. I loved design and I loved getting to know people and I love the sociological aspect of it.
Mm.
And I loved understanding how I think I knew from a very young age that I could understand how people wanted to be perceived in their spaces. And that has taken me pretty far, not only with TV makeovers and things like that, where that meeting of those people is so accelerated and everything is moving so fast, but also in the work that my firm has done over these last 3 decades. I really like to get to know people, and I really am searching for cues about what they're revealing to me, what they might not be revealing to me, who they are, who they've been, and more importantly, perhaps most importantly, who they aspire to be. If a space is really crafted for you, if somebody's dreamt a bigger dream than you could dream for yourself about your home, that has legs, like for years.
Mm.
Some of the interiors we did 25 years ago, the clients haven't changed. That means something to me.
Well, and that's, I think, such a challenge to pull off, to create that kind of space that will have that kind of longevity.
Yeah, I mean, I'm vehemently anti-trend because of that. Even now, like all these, like the curved sofas and the this and that, like the moody fabrics and the like everything going on Instagram. It's like it's beautiful,
Mm.
but I don't do that on behalf of my clients. It's too of the moment for me. I don't want a timestamp on any of the rooms that we do. I want somebody to walk into a room that we designed or I designed 15 years later and not know exactly when it was designed. But my question is, like, are you really going to want that in 10 years? Are you even going to want it in 2? And so what I've always tried to do is assemble a collection of things that the client really loves, and then bring in color, bring in texture, bring in substrates and textiles and whatever it is to kind of boost that to whatever they want it to look like now. But then worst case scenario, just go in and recover, repaint, replaster, change hardware. But fundamentally, like, I'm not Albert Hadley. I know that. Or Sister Parish, like Marina Rust's main house that just ran in Town and Country. Sister Parish did that 1,000 years ago, and it was that.
Right.
It was that from 1950 till about 10 minutes ago. And that's so cool. And that's really great design to me.
We're taking a quick break from the show to let you know about Hector Finch's role in this year's Kips Bay Decorator Show House in New York. From September 30th through October 19th, you can see their lighting installed in 4 different rooms, created in collaboration with designers throughout the house. While you're in town, stop by the R. Hughes showroom at the New York Design Center to explore a wide range of fixtures from the Hector Finch collection. To register for Kips Bay, visit kipsbaydecoratorshowhouse.org, and to see the full collection online, head to hectorfinch.com. And now, back to the show. But when you do articulate your look and what you want to create, how do you speak of it? What's the language that you use?
I say that I lean heavy on antique furniture and vintage. I say I lean on archival finishes and things that have been around that have stood the test of time. I lean heavy on architectural salvage in terms of fireplace mantles and doors and hardware if I can, and flooring material. I just like things that have a patina. And so I like them grouped in a room. I don't want to, sleep on somebody else's headboard by any everybody's definition, and I will gut a sofa, a vintage sofa, and remake it, or I'll make a new upholstery. That doesn't bother me at all.
Mm,
But I really like, if it can be old or vintage, then it will be. And then I'll usually keep the original finishes on 99% of it. If it's new for me, it has to be like new, like really future perfect, or like one of these like limited artisan crafted sand cast bronze kind of, but I have a problem paying for that.
because that's all gotten pretty expensive, and the whole collectible
It's
furniture world.
$40,000 for this, and
Yeah,
$80,000 for this, and an edition of 12, and I don't have the confidence in that like I do with vintage.
right.
I can sell a Maria Pergay steel table 50 times. I'm fully confident in her body of work and how it will sit with new things, that it will retain its value, if not go up. I feel educated around that. With all the wonderful, incredible new things, I just don't have the same level of confidence around that. I have an appreciation,
Hmm.
but I don't have the same level of confidence.
I want to take a few minutes to just talk about your early career and not deprive any listeners out there who might not know the story, right? So I'm guessing if people know anything about Nate Berkus, they know, oh, he's an interior designer, and then a few years into his career, he goes on Oprah Winfrey, and this whole world sort of blows up, and I remember his name and the whole thing. But take us back to that time for people who might not know the drama of that story. And
That moment.
yeah,
Yeah, no, it was amazing. I mean, so I'm a young designer. I've left the auction house. I start my firm. There's like a little bit of a Jerry Maguire moment. A year later, I went back for my friend Jessica Smolin, who still worked at the auction house, and she nervously agreed to join my firm, quote unquote, which was me in the basement of my Chicago house at the time. And I had built a fairly decent client roster of people that I knew either through real estate brokers in Chicago, or clients from the auction house. And I was ready to open my first office, which I did. And then I opened a second, moved to a fancier office in River North, which is the gallery district of Chicago. And I wanted to be on the first floor because I thought, if we have a slow month, I should have like a gallery where I can sell furniture and decoration. There's all this foot traffic in that area. And so I leased a space on Superior Street, and I opened a shop, and I represented an outdoor furniture line. But I'm not a great shopkeeper because I have to have things look a certain way. So like, I'll never forget, somebody came in and bought this massive bookcase and wanted it out that day. Like, they were sending their delivery or movers to come pick it up. And I looked at all the smalls that I had assembled on it and displayed like so
so
artfully.
so perfectly.
And yeah, and I was like, "Can I cancel the sale?" And Jessica was like, "What are you talking about? No." It was for sale. It had a ticket on it. We ran their credit card. You can't keep it just because you don't want to mess. And I was like, I really don't want to mess. But that left the store, and the store looked like shit. And that was how that worked. But I was sitting at my desk, and I got a phone call, and it was one of the producers from Oprah that said, "We got your name from one of our other producers who was at a party that you threw at your gallery. And we have a small space in Boston that we would love to talk to you about making over. Would you do it?" And I said, "Yes, I would love to do it." And they said, "That's great. So we need to bring your plumber, your electrician, your carpenter, everybody, and to Boston to do this project." And I said, "Okay. When were you thinking?" And they said, "Tomorrow." And I said, "Can I call you back? Can I have like 15 minutes?" And they said, "Yeah, yeah, of course, but definitely call us back because we need to book this. We've got to get the crew there and all of this stuff." And so I hung up the phone, and I sat at my desk, and I remember this moment. And I called her back, and she didn't know me, and I didn't know her. And I said, "Okay, so here's what I want to say to you. Is there somebody at Harpo whose job it is to get stuff for free?" And she said, well, not really, but we have like a business development division. I was like, who is that? She said, well, that's Harriet Seitler. And I said, okay, can I talk with Harriet Seitler? She said, well, I'm producing this. I didn't know Jenna was like my age, by the way, and we're both like 10. And cause she's very official and scary on the phone. Still is, I might add. And I said to her, Jenna, I think we need to loop in Harriet Seitler because we need to say, I have a great relationship with my plumber and a great relationship with my electrician and my millwork guy, but they're not leaving their work
Hmm.
to drive to Boston to do a makeover segment on any show. If they would, it'd probably be your show, but they're
Right.
not doing it anyway. So my idea is I think you need to reach out to like a Menards or a Lowe's or a Home Depot because like those places have like kitchen cabinets and countertops and everything. And they know, I would imagine, every decent contractor, they've probably got a name, electricians,
Right.
plumbers, whatever. So I think Harpo needs to do a deal with one of those big national things. And that way, that'll help us in Boston. But what if this goes really well? Like, what if you and I have the best time? And what if Oprah really likes this? What if we get to do this again? Then we're all set up for Kansas City and Cleveland and Seattle and, whatever. And she's like, okay, that's actually a really strong idea. So that's what they did. And I got on a plane and I went to Boston and I did this small space makeover and it was amazing. And that's what really started it all. And what it led to for me was two things. It led to this massive cog in Oprah's brand that I always knew I needed to protect,
Hmm.
that I couldn't go out and like go on Star Search or, like I needed to stay with like
Right.
my métier. Like I wanted to be in design anyway. But what it led to was my first book deal. And the book deal led to the first product deal. And the product deal led to the first endorsement deal. And that endorsement deal led to 50 other endorsement deals. And I gained a reputation among all these ad sales buyers and big brands and things like that, that I was somebody that would maintain my own authenticity and fight for my own editorial control, even when Oprah said to me one day, I don't think you can do a whole house from Walmart. And I said, well, I don't think I can either. And then we went on Walmart's brand new website, which is
Hmm.
what they were trying to promote.
Right.
And they had furniture and all these things. And I called her back and I said, I think we should try this. I think it's kind of funny. No one even knows how to decorate a house online. Let's see if we can do it. So it was such an experimental time. I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about business. But most importantly, I learned that I had to protect myself
Yes.
and how I was being positioned and how I would step out in front of the camera, not from Harpo, because they wanted me protected more than anyone,
Right.
but from everybody else. And I learned how to say no. I really learned how to give a hard no. And I still give a lot of hard no's.
So, and is that what turned out to be such an important part of maintaining? Because I want to talk about how you learned this branding sensibility, this authenticity that you were talking about. We used to just think that one was just authentic. One went out and one presented themselves as themselves. Now it's you have to work to be authentic and you have to be mindful of that.
Well, you have to work to be authentic, Dennis, because there's so many opportunities to not be.
Exactly. So tell me about that.
So back in the day, pre-social media, pre-internet, whatever, it was very clean. A plumbing company would hire you to go to the kitchen and bath show and demonstrate their new product or stand there and get across the three most important bullet points that they as a brand felt important for their collection. And you would be hired and you'd go and do that.
Hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. No shame in the game. Like, why not? What changed was that everyone's an influencer. Everyone's got, they want your followers now and they want to link everything to a
Hmm.
direct sale. And you as the brand have to protect the information that you're giving to your followers. You can't just give them everything just because you have 2 million followers or whatever you have.
Hmm.
You have to be an editor behind the scenes around that. You have to use your social media as almost your own magazine, that you're allowing in the pages of that what you feel really is good for those people who follow you to know. My way is you cannot take every deal. You can't you can take a lot of deals.
And as you said, and you have, and right, and
Yes, and I
yeah.
have, and I continue to. I can't wait. But you also have to be like I did a campaign for Nicorette gum because I was using Nicorette gum.
So it made sense for who you were.
Yes, so I was like, yes, I would love to do a campaign for Nicorette gum because it helped me. I don't smoke. I haven't touched a cigarette in years. In the product licensing world, it's all about compromise. You and I have talked about this before, but it's very much about compromise. I used to bet the towel buyer at Target in their basement where they set up your fake like aisle. I used to bet them that what colors I thought would sell and what wouldn't.
Right.
It's not that I had the choice to say I am not doing those colors, but I tried to figure out like how to make it fun. Like if that color is in the top 3, I'll take you to dinner. If it's not in the top 3, you don't get to pick next time we're standing here. So you have to respect your partnerships. You have to respect their experience. You have to respect what they know of their customer. But then at the same time, you have to remember that they brought you in because they don't know exactly.
Hmm.
And that it's your job to figure out what is going to be exciting and what's going to be ahead of the trend curve or ignore the trend curve. And that is a responsibility at 53 that I think I'm pretty good at now.
So you have been doing it for so long, and you are exceptional in that you have been famous, for lack of a better word, for a long time. And you have been able to maintain this authenticity that we've just been talking about, but also this level of integrity and also an approachability or you're a genuinely
100%.
right.
100%. Listen, I have really decent manners and I'm a nice guy.
Yes,
It's not really that more complicated. I mean,
but that's so hard to do in a
I don't
world
find
that
it
is.
hard to do. I think it's so, listen, no one is dumb. I've never talked down to a soul.
Mm,
I mean, maybe the puppy, but I don't think that counts because it's like a human soul, let's say. The truth is that grace goes such a long way in any business, but especially in design because for some reason people don't expect it.
mm,
And when I meet a young designer, like I did at NYSID when I was given an honorary degree and I spoke to the graduating class that year, Sebastian, who's a designer that graduated that year, went on to work for Andre Malone, and
yeah.
we just both did a project across the hall from each other at Hudson Yards here in New York City.
Hmm.
And I met him that night, and he was like this charming, nice, bright-eyed, interested, not acting like he knew everything, which would have been ridiculous, because he's 8, but like open, curious. Like those are the qualities that you want to invite into your home to create an interior that represents you and your family. You don't want to invite somebody to your kitchen table that makes you feel like you're stupid because you don't know everything that they know. And my advice to all these young designers who are starting out, who built this amazing Instagram feed or not, or are graduating from these great schools like RISD and NYSID and, all these amazing places where you can get such a strong design education is that's all great. But be the guy or the person that when they see your name on the schedule that afternoon, they don't want to die that they have to spend 4 hours with you.
Hmm.
Conversely, they see your name, you've booked that meeting, and they know they're going to have a really nice afternoon. Productive, but a nice afternoon. Because everybody just wants a nice afternoon.
But to that point about social media, and as much as everybody is trying to figure out how to run their design firm, so many young people especially, but everyone across the board is trying to figure out how to present themselves on social media, what their brand really is, who they are, and how they want to present themselves. And you seem to have that figured out. And I wonder how you think about it, and if there was a point where somebody helped inform you about that.
I was so reticent to social media. I remember years ago, Ashton Kutcher, who was like an early investor, came to Harpo in Chicago and sat all of us down and told us how important Instagram was. It literally looked like the Star Wars bar. It was me, Mehmet Oz, Dr. Phil. Like it was like, I was like, oh God. And I was like, this is so dumb. Like no one is going to care about what sandwich I ate. Like
I've heard you were
ridiculous.
very skeptical about social media.
I couldn't even believe that it was a real thing. However, I will say my management team said to me, you can't ignore this any longer. I will say that now that it is a thing and I shoot with my team once a week, we have an editorial content schedule that I approve, that I sometimes follow and sometimes say I'm not doing that. That's super dumb. But I've been on board now for several years, to the degree that recently I did pull my whole social media team together and I said, look, and this was before I was working on my book, Foundations. I said, I'm the expert. I've been doing this for 30 years.
Right.
I don't want to be the cool, funny guy doing TikTok videos. I don't care. I'm not an influencer. You know, with all due respect, what we're seeing out there is a lot of great editing, in my opinion. These are people that have never installed a room and they don't know the 5,000 purchase orders and details and review of shop drawings and everything that goes into installing a room. And I do. So I want you to focus on making me appear as such. The perfect example, I shot an episode of a show for HGTV as a guest judge with Tyler Cameron and Tayshia Adams the other day from The Bachelor. And they do this whole thing where they talk at the same time that the tape is talking. I don't really get it. I had to do it like 80 times. On their feeds, sure. As a co-post with them, sure. But for me, at 53 years old in my cashmere cardigan to go out and be like, hey guys, that it's just not me.
Right.
You know, it might have been me at 25, but I wasn't 25 when Instagram came out. So the authenticity is partly due to the team saying, A, you have to do this, and B, you know, we're going to create an editorial calendar for you and you're going to weigh in. And then now the last probably 7 years, I've paid much closer attention. And I do give them direction seasonally to say, this is really what I'm interested in. This is how I wish to be perceived and positioned. Now you guys figure out what that looks like on these 4 dates that you have reserved to film.
We're taking a quick break from the show to remind you about Leloy. I want to tell you about a special guest joining me in November. Leloy launched its collaboration with Amber Lewis in 2021, and the designer's textiles have made their way into homes across the country. All next month, you'll hear parts of my conversation with Amber about her latest collections and so much more. You can explore the full Amber Lewis and Leloy collaboration at leloyrugs.com. That's LOLOI rugs.com. And make sure to follow at Leloy Rugs on Instagram and TikTok. And many designers say that Instagram, interestingly, has become one of the biggest new project generators for them. Is that the same that you are finding? Is that where so many people are discovering you?
Well, for everything. I mean, I don't get it. I don't go to somebody to try a new place to get my hair cut if I don't go on their Instagram page first.
Right.
I won't eat a hamburger if I'm not on their Instagram page and hearing what Katie Lee had to say about it or whatever. I mean, 1,000% people pick design firms from Instagram.
So I want to tie that back to your design business before I talk to you about the book, because I want to talk to you about 30 years and everything that you were thinking about with this book. But tell me, So often when we're talking to designers, another thing beyond the social media strategy that everyone's trying to figure out is where are we today with our charging strategy? Are we hourly? Do we have a design fee? Do we have a markup? And where have you and your firm landed with all of that over the years?
We have had the exact same structure with rate increases for the last 25 years. And it is net cost plus 30%.
Okay.
That's a scale as well. If it's construction material or plumbing, we go down. We charge hourly. I'm the most expensive. Lauren Bucksbaum Gordon, who is my partner and
Right.
runs the Chicago office, is the second most expensive. And then it goes down there from there all the way to design assistants. We do not do flat fee. We have, but what it's kind of dumb because what we do is we add up all of that
Right.
and we just say, okay, you're paying us the exact same thing.
Right.
But when we do a flat fee, rarely, the scope is so detailed that if somebody asks the team for a soap dish, we're like,
Ah.
hold on, we're outside of the scope. We weren't going into that bathroom. But if we're going into that bathroom, then we have to redo our our flat fee, guys. So I've just been doing this for too long. There's been too many, and I feel like we've earned the right to charge the way we prefer to charge.
Well, so to that point of earning the right to charge what you charge, is there a we're not showing up for less than this kind of starting point at this point now for your firm, or how do you think about that?
No, that's not. I mean, we do have like an internal minimum
Hmm.
that we all talk about. I waive it all the time, it depending on the project, and it drives everybody nuts. But, for instance, right now we have this young couple that bought their first apartment uptown,
Hmm.
and I wanted to do it. And at the same time, we're working with this couple in Miami who have an amazing apartment full of editions of new that I want to know more about. And I wanted to do that.
Hmm.
So, at this point, it's more about what we're going to take from the project, not only monetarily.
Hmm.
How exciting it is for the staff. We're not a firm with a signature look. We've never been. I love working in a bunch of different styles. I love applying everything we have learned about scale and materiality and space planning and storage solutions and all of that to many different aesthetics. So right now, especially since I've opened the New York office, which is staffed with a bunch of really creative, brilliant people, I want to take the projects that we're going to learn from
Hmm.
and that we're really going to enjoy. It doesn't mean that if somebody has almost no money to spend, that's the right model for us with our project managers and our designers and their design assistants and me at the head of the creative. Like, that doesn't really work if you don't have an appropriate budget to hire a 30-year-old firm like mine. But if you're really charming and really great and I'm obsessed with you and the project seems really interesting, I've been known to be like, come on, guys, let's just do it. And those projects have been really fun. We've done like model units, for instance. We've
Hmm.
done two, and we did this building on West 13th Street where we were charged with picking out all the finishes for the common areas and all of the units, and then furnishing the model unit, which we did with 80% vintage and antique, auction finds, again, credibility. But, those projects are new for us and they were super exciting. A $25 million penthouse in Hudson Yards across the hallway from Sebastian. Like, that was great. Like, we would have never been approached for that in Chicago, but we're being approached for it here in New York. And I like doing that. Quick turnaround, you're
Right.
just presenting to the team. You get to use beautiful things and craft these interiors that are like instant, which brings me back to my TV makeover days.
Well, and speaking of that, I mean, it seems as though in thinking about where you most want to go next, it seems like when you had your own show, you didn't love it, or it didn't
No,
excite
I
you.
couldn't. I was miserable, Dennis.
You were miserable.
Miserable. My talk show,
Yes,
miserable every day.
every day.
There were certain things that really mattered,
Hmm.
I could name them on one hand. It was an environment where everybody was working so hard. The best ideas didn't make it through. And we were catering to focus groups and, and I've talked to everybody that has launched their own talk show since me. Had a conversation with Bethany Frankel, went to dinner before she had her talk show. And I was like, don't let them turn you into something that the focus groups want you to be, because you got this show because you're you. And that's what they're going to want to see no matter what they say. And immediately it was like, you could see the coaching, the this, or the influence of the network, the influence of whatever it was. And it's like, there are so many people out there that do a great job. I'm not sure I'm one of them. I don't know if I was born to be a talk show host. My husband, probably.
Probably.
He'd probably be great. But like, I'm interested and really deeply passionate about what I'm interested and deeply passionate about. And that does not include how to make chicken.
Well, so to that point about what you're really passionate about, so often when I speak to designers, they tell me, oh, listen, Dennis, I am trying to get some other gig so that I can get away from these clients who are just draining every last bit of positive energy from me. And if I can have enough product license deal or whatever it is, they're looking for the off-ramp. They're looking for the escape hatch.
But I have the off-ramp and I'm still here.
I know.
I've
well,
had
that's
the
my
off-ramp
point.
for 20 years. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it. I really love the interaction. I really love the problem solving aspect of it. Like I said, I love the sociological aspect of it. And I love it's still deeply rewarding, the research, the creativity, the new ideas, the challenges in execution, the getting to know people and lifting them up in our way by crafting this room that they feel pretty in and accomplished in. I had it years ago. The off-ramp came really early for me. And I remember once years ago, someone asked me, you have books and you have all these licensing deals and you have all this stuff and you have endorsement deals and all these things. Why do you still pick up the phone when someone's sofa is late?
Yes.
And my answer was, that's my job. I don't think I could do a great job at any of those other things if I wasn't still connected to the day-to-day of the design firm. I'm not sure what I would do with my ideas and what I would do with my time. I'm so not bored. I'm not burnt out.
So why not? How have you not gotten burned out from it all? And what do you do to maintain everything that one sees about Nate Berkus?
I have what I consider to be the best team in the business. And that is how I'm able to do what I love to do, because I'm buoyed and surrounded by a team of people in 3 offices who really care and want to work here. They want to be part of the culture that not just I have created, but Lauren has created in the Chicago office, that the clients help us create by sending us, 16 pints of Jenny's ice cream as a thank you note. And like all of us are like standing at the kitchen island with spoons. I have, I think, created a culture that is happy, that people feel seen and heard and celebrated. And that was an old Oprah lesson too.
You learned that from her.
100%. Everybody wants to be seen. Everybody wants to be heard. She said it 65 billion times.
Right. That's the key. Everyone wants to be seen. Everyone wants to be heard. Make them feel that way.
And by seen is, yes. And by seen, you want to be seen for what you're great at.
Yes.
And you want to be heard for what you're not great at. And when you're seen for what you're great at, then like I talk about how Lauren runs the Chicago office all the time because it's so genius. She discovers what people are great at, and that's their job. And when they're bad at it, she gives that to somebody else so that you're not making somebody. When I was at the auction house all those years ago, just where this conversation started, they would make me like catalog estates of Toby jugs and dolls and those gross rugs in the basement with spiders and whatever. And it's like, I was suicidal. That's not the best use of what I can do, and Leslie looked at that as my first boss. And she looked at me and she said, yeah, you suck. You're awful. My God, poor Colleen Euland, who you're supposed to be typing letters to the trust and estates attorney. I would die if I were Colleen Euland too, but I'm not going to fire you. Your job is to make everything look pretty. And your job, sir, is to sell. So we've taken that with us. Lauren's taken it, I've taken it. It's like to be seen in a company culture, especially in a creative company culture, is to be celebrated for what you're good at and to be honest about what you're not. I can't do everything in this office. I certainly can't. I can't even make a spreadsheet, Dennis. I don't want to. I'm not, a spreadsheets and chicken
Right.
are
That's
no's.
that's somebody
Yeah.
else's. That's somebody
Yeah.
else's gig.
Somebody else, I'll
Yeah.
eat it,
Right.
but I don't want to know how to make it. And I certainly don't want to touch it when it's pink.
Now I've got to get you out of here. So let's talk about the book, because one of the things I'm curious about as I hold up your book and I notice that there isn't a beautiful project on the cover of this book, or an image of you and the family, or I believe that these are some different flooring options and some different textures and so
Flooring, wall covering.
right, wall
It's
covering.
yeah,
Yeah,
flooring, wall covering, and then stone.
yeah.
It was by intention, the cover, because first of all, meaning no disrespect to anybody else's design book, and I have an extensive library, and I'm a real fan of having someone's work in a book format, not in a saved file. But I will say that the design books all look like very similar lately. It's
Mm.
that square within a square with the embossed border, and then the image of the interior and the writing and on the top and the name on the bottom. And sometimes it's off center and sometimes it's bigger and whatever. And I just didn't want that at all. I also wanted the book to be really handsome so it could just sit on a coffee table and look good and not be loud in a room. So I wanted it to be a little bit quiet, and that was really the impetus behind the design.
And what was the impetus behind the book itself? In the book, you talk about you couldn't have written this book earlier in your career, but tell me what made you want to.
So I didn't want to write this book. It wasn't the book that I pitched initially. The book I pitched initially, and I thought this was such a genius idea, and I was such a visionary, was that I wanted, like the Fiden guides or the
Sure.
Astoline guides to like the hotels or furniture makers or whatever. I wanted to do a box set that would be sold as a set, but also sold individually, broken down by room or area of the home. And in each volume, I wanted to pour into everything I've learned over the last 30 years. Doris Cooper from Simon and Schuster, who used to work for Clarkson Potter and lost my first book because she didn't want to pay enough money for it. And I brought this idea to her, and she said, well, that's literally the dumbest thing I've ever heard. She's like, do you know the price of paper? Can you, I'm worried about one cover, let alone, and you're telling me like you want it all to be inexpensive. You want each one to be $15 or less. And I was like, well, yeah, I know my market.
Right.
I don't want a $150 monograph. Like that's not me. So she said, I love the idea, but we're putting it in one cover. You can do everything you just pitched me, but we're not splitting it into volumes. And so that's how we built the book. And I worked with Heather Somerville, who was a former Domino editor,
Yeah.
who's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant person. And we worked together on it with my team. It became apparent that we weren't going to save anything, that we were just going to put every idea wisely and in an organized fashion between this single cover. And I wanted the book to not be $100. I just kept saying, I hope it's not $100. It's 400 pages of
Yeah,
our
it's a lot.
best, our
Yeah.
absolute best. But it's, I don't know how much it is on Amazon. It launches November 18th, but it's like around 50, 55. So the point is that I didn't win my initial battle with Doris Cooper. Doris Cooper won the battle, but we both won in the end because it's been such a pleasure for me to go out and talk about this book. It's literally practical information that's done almost in a magazine format that's really easy to read and easy to use. And you can flip to bathrooms if you're redoing your bathroom. You don't care what I have to say about kitchens or closets. Or if you're going to the Container Store on a Saturday and you want to see what $1 million dressing room looks like and get some ideas for how you can copy that or use that as inspiration, then you can go to the page on storage and closets and laundry rooms. So it's as thorough as we could possibly be. It does represent 30 years of work, and it's just a really cool book that is a thank you note on my behalf to anyone over the last 30 years who's ever bought a bath mat with my name on it. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the ride. I really am. And I'm still going.
Well, and that's what's remarkable. And I know that I have to let you go. And there's so much more that I want to talk about with you, including.
Well, I'll come on anytime, by the way. You know that.
Well, you're nice to say.
Like if you want to co-host, you and I could just do this together. We could talk about things that have no interest whatsoever to any of your listeners. I'm great at that too.
I would love that. I'm enormously grateful to you for making the time to talk with me. It is always a pleasure.